FPL Game Week 11 Team Selection. What is up everyone, how's it going? FPL Era here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Another good week for the team in Game Week 10 and we're getting that one step closer to the top 100k spot that we're looking to get into before Christmas. Looking ahead to Game Week 11, we've got some slight concerns around the rotation risk of Rico Lewis and that injury concern to Cole Palmer. But in today's video, I'm going to show you how I put out in Game Week 10. I'm also going to look at my transfer plans and team selection ahead of the Game Week 11 deadline. We've lots to discuss. Let's get into the video. So before we get into today's video, quick reminder as always to give the video a like, and let's hit the like goal of 80 likes on this video. So head on down there, drop the video a like, and if you are watching this and you're not subscribed, you know what I'm going to say already, head on down there, click subscribe on the channel. We're just under 140 subs off hitting our 7k goal before Christmas, and with your support we can definitely get over the line. So looking at the Game Week 10 review, let's rewind back to the deadline stream on Saturday. If you tuned in on Saturday morning, you'll know it was a stressful deadline stream as I was trying to decide whether or not to bring in Mo Salah for a hit. Special shout out to a good friend of mine, Sean Luca, who is a member of the channel as well, who was trying to persuade me not to make the moves. Thankfully, I did stick to my gut and brought in Mo Salah, and the rest is history. The -4 hit on Saturday also meant I took out Gabriel, even though he was confirmed to start before the deadline, so I was glad to see Arsenal concede away to Newcastle, even though I had Ryan goals. As a double Arsenal clean sheet definitely would have affected my rank, and I did want to play Davies at home to Leicester. I was expecting something from the Ipswich man, maybe not a goal, and what a goal it was on that left footed volley. He was on for 15 points until Leicester got the equaliser in the 96th minute, and that now means Leicester have scored in every game week this season, but that 10 points from Davies was a massive one for the team. Going through the rest of the 3 o'clock games, I was surprised to see Rico Lewis named on the bench for Man City, even after Pep Guardiola said during the week that Rico Lewis was the only player that couldn't rotate, and of course he was named on the bench at the weekend. Kyle Walker is back in the squad also at the weekend, so that means I'm going to be faced with a lot of Pep roulette over the festive period, and Rico Lewis is probably going to give me a headache over the next few weeks. He did make a late cameo in that game, and I was relieved to see Everton concede, as I was hoping Mikalenko could sub in for 6 points, so it didn't work out too badly in the end. And then HAALAND drew a blank, so it meant I did choose the right captaincy pick, with Mo Salah getting 18 points at home to Brighton. It was a bit of a frustrating first half watching Mo Salah being very quiet, but what a goal he scored in the second half, and 18 points with the armband was a lovely return. Looking ahead to the captaincy this weekend, I definitely have another decision to make that's going to give me a big headache before the deadline this weekend, but we'll chat about that later on in the video. Special mention to Chris Wood. He came away with a goal at home to West Ham to make it 5 goals in his last 4 and no blanks in his last 4 games. If you've been following the channel since the start of the season, I've owned him since Game Week 1 and he's been a joy to own all season. On to the half-5 game then. Even though Wolves did concede twice, it was very positive to see Aït-Nouri playing in some very advanced positions for Wolves. He had some half chances in that game, so he was probably unlucky not to come away with a return, but at least my new signing Cunha did come away with an assist in the second half, and he did pick up 1 bonus point for a 6-point return. Solanke did make way for Cunha, so I did miss out on Solanke's 16-pointer, but my -4 did pay off massively as it allowed me to captain Salah, where I would have captained Haaland, and it also allowed me to play Davies for his 10-point haul at home to Leicester. There wasn't much to shout about with my last 2 players, Cole Palmer and Brian Mbeumo, both blanking in their respective fixtures. One thing to note, Cole Palmer did come away with a bonus point even though he did blank in that game, so it shows how much of a valuable asset he is in the game. All in all, 63 points, -4 gave me 59 points for the week and saw me with a massive green hour going from 821k to 462k overall. We're eyeing up another green hour now in Game Week 11 and hopefully we can get close to that top 100k spot before Christmas. Let's move on now and see how we're planning ahead of the Game Week 11 deadline. The big news so far this week is from the Chelsea camp, and Enzo Maresca confirmed that Cole Palmer hasn't been able to train all week as he hasn't been fit since that Man United game at the weekend. He took a knock to his knee from a late challenge from Martinez at the end of that game. Chelsea are playing Arsenal on Sunday, so I do expect Cole Palmer to be fine, so I wouldn't be worried about that, but we will have to keep a close eye on his press conference ahead of the deadline. So looking ahead to Game Week 11, here's some of the most frequent questions I have been asked in DMs so far this week. Starting off with a topic that I did raise attention to last week, whether or not we should be selling Erling Haaland out of our FPL teams. Well, first off, if you did take out Haaland last week to bring Salah into your team, you're rewarded massively with that Haaland blank and that Salah haul. Whether or not we should be getting rid of it at the moment now, that's something that is up for discussion. There's no question about it, Erling Haaland is well out of form. Only 1 Premier League goal in his last 5 games, an XG of 4.07, and 6 big chances missed over these games. So he's definitely not in the same form as he was earlier on the season when he was bagging hat-tricks left, right and centre. There's no question about it. He's missing the likes of Rodri and KDB in the team, and there's no question about it that Man City are well out of form. He did miss that penalty on Tuesday night when Man City were thumped 4-1. Looking at Man City's fixtures over the next couple of weeks, there is a case to say you could take out Haaland and bring in the likes of Isak or Cunha with the favourable fixture runs for Newcastle and Wolves coming up over the next few weeks. Then you could put your money into midfield and get the likes of Mo Salah, Cole Palmer or Bukayo Saka if you haven't got them in your team already. Looking at my own team, I already have Palmer, I already have Salah, so I'll be keeping Haaland at least for the next couple of weeks. Looking at the Brighton game, looking at the Spurs game, these are 2 fixtures Haaland could easily perform well in, especially with the injuries to Dunk and Van de Ven. So I will be holding firm on him and keep him in the team, and hopefully you can punish the sellers, as I do think there'll be a lot of sellers ahead of the weekend's games, especially with that penalty miss on Tuesday night. He's probably even a captaincy candidate this weekend also, but we will chat about that later in the video. But I will say, hold Haaland for now, at least until after the Spurs game, and then reassess after the international break. We then move on to the curious case of Rico Lewis and what should we be doing with him in our FPL teams. We've already spoken about it earlier on in the video, but Pep Guardiola confirmed last week that Rico Lewis was the only player City couldn't afford to rotate. Lo and behold, he was rotated or benched for that Bournemouth game. And then looking towards the Brighton game at the weekend, he played 90 minutes in the Champions League against Sporting on Tuesday night. So I'm not too confident of a start in that Brighton game. I have him in my team. I've got a decision to make what I should be doing with him, and that leads us on to the question, what should you be doing with him? Well, first off, if you've got the luxury of a couple of transfers, I'd probably look towards moving Rico Lewis on. Only 2 clean sheets for Man City all season, so they're not the best in defence already anyway. And then looking towards players you could bring in, the likes of Aït-Nouri at home to Southampton, Pedro Porro at home to Ipswich, even Dalot at home to Leicester. Man United do have an nice run of fixtures over the next couple of weeks against Leicester, Ipswich and Everton, and the new manager still has to come into the mix, so we're still not sure what his preferred 11 is going to be, but I do expect Dalot to be part of that preferred 11. If I had to pick a player out of Pedro Porro, Aït-Nouri or Dalot, as of now, I'd probably lean towards Aït-Nouri. Wolves have a nice run of fixtures over the next couple of weeks up until game week 17. Fair enough, they aren't keeping clean sheets, but with Aït-Nouri, he's an exciting pick. Every time Wolves are on the attack, Aït-Nouri's always involved, and if you watched the late kickoff last week, he could have scored in a few occasions, so that's why I'd probably lean towards him, and I do expect a return from him against Southampton this weekend. Just be warned, he is on 4 yellow cards, so 1 yellow card for Aït-Nouri will lead to the suspension, but I do think he is worth the risk with that Southampton game at the weekend. With Spurs up against the second worst defence in the league at home to Ipswich, it then raises the question, if you own a Spurs asset in your FPL team, should you be captaining them this week? Dominic Solanke and Heung-min Son are popular assets amongst FPL managers. So starting off with Solanke, before that Aston Villa game last week, he was well out of form, blank after blank after blank, until he finally got that monster 16-pointer against Aston Villa. 2 goals and 1 assist last week, so he is well in form coming into that Ipswich game. So FPL managers who do own him might be tempted to captain him this weekend. Then looking at Heung-min Son, he's just on the way back from injury. He only played 56 minutes in that Aston Villa game last week before he was hauled off early, so he's not fully fit going into that Ipswich game. We're going to have to wait and see what Aaron says about him in the press conference on Friday. But then looking at the captaincy candidates out of Dominic Solanke and Heung-min Son, if I had to pick one, I'd probably lean towards Son. He's probably going to be on penalties. I do expect him to play 60 to 70 minutes in that game. I do think that's well enough time for Son to get a nice haul in that game. And then that leads us on to the question, should you be captaining your Spurs assets over the likes of Erling Haaland or Mo Salah? I don't think so. I do think Haaland is a better captaincy candidate over Solanke or Son, even Mo Salah then as well. Salah and Haaland are the clear candidates for the armband this week. I do still have a decision to make on my own captain. Looking at my team ahead of the weekend's games, and starting off on goals, I've got Raya away to Chelsea. No clean sheet for Arsenal in their last 6 games, and they failed to keep a clean sheet last night in their Champions League game also, so something to miss in that Arsenal defence at the moment. I am glad I did move on Gabriel to fund that Salah move also. I do have Fabianski on the bench at home to Everton, so I could be tempted to play Fabianski if I do want to bench Raya, but I've got Raya in the team now just for security, on the basis if Arsenal do keep a clean sheet, at least I'll be insured with at least 1 clean sheet. Moving on to the back 3, I've got a defence of Rico Lewis, Aït-Nouri and Mykolenko. We've already spoken about Rico Lewis. He did play 90 minutes in that Champions League game on Tuesday night, so I'm not fully confident of a start for him in that half-5 game on Saturday. I do have Van den Berg on the bench for Brentford at home to Bournemouth, but Brentford haven't kept a clean sheet all season, so I'm willing to take a risk and hope that Rico Lewis does get the start, and if he does get the start, fingers crossed, he can get a return. Moving on to Aït-Nouri, will Wolves finally get their first clean sheet of the season at home to Southampton? Probably not, but I am confident of an attacking return from Aït-Nouri with the positions he's been picking up over the last couple of weeks. Mykolenko completes my 3-man defence away to West Ham. I'm not fully confident of a clean sheet for Everton here. West Ham are pretty good at home. 2 clean sheets for Everton in their last 4 games. Can they make it 3? Probably not. I could be tempted to play Davies away to Spurs just on the basis of attacking returns, which I might do before the deadline. But for now, Mykolenko is in my back 3 just on the basis of the bookies' clean sheet odds. Moving on to the midfield, Mo Salah gets the captaincy for now at home to Aston Villa. Himself and his Liverpool team are the ones in form compared to Haaland and the Man City team, but I do think it's a tough decision and one that will go to the wire before the deadline, and ultimately it'll be a decision that'll probably mean whether or not I get a green hour or a red hour this week. But Salah gets the captaincy for now. He got 2 assists in the Champions League game on Tuesday night, so he is the man in form ahead of the weekend's games. We then move on to Morgan Rogers, who will be playing a part in that same game as Mo. I'm playing Rogers on the basis that I do think Aston Villa will get on the score sheet, considering Liverpool's defensive woes over the last couple of weeks. With Rogers, he's probably only play 60 to 70 minutes like he did in the Champions League last night and in that Spurs game at the weekend. But I do think 60 to 70 minutes is enough time for Rogers to get a return. We then move on to Cole Palmer. We've already spoke about his fitness updates ahead of the weekend. He hasn't trained for Chelsea all week, but with the fact that it is the Arsenal game at the weekend, I do think he'll be fine for that game. If he is out, I could always look towards Heung-min Son for a nice punt for that Ipswich game and then move Son onto Saka for game week 12. But for now, Cole Palmer's in the team and I do expect a return from him this weekend. Bryan Mbeumo completes my 4-man midfield. He was kept quiet by Fulham at Craven Cottage on Monday night, but 8 goals in 10 games for the Brentford main man means I do expect him to be back amongst the returns with only 1 clean sheet for Bournemouth all season. Erling Haaland, Cunha and Chris Wood complete my starting 11, and looking at that front 3, I'll be expecting returns across the board. Starting off with Cunha, I brought him in for that Crystal Palace game last week. He got his assists, but I was eyeing up this Southampton game when I was bringing him into the team, so fingers crossed we can get a good haul from him in this game. And then looking at Chris Wood, he'll be hoping to make it 5 returns in his last 5 games at home to Newcastle, and I will be expecting him, in the form he is, to get another return. And then finishing off the team, Erling Haaland. I still have to decide on the captaincy whether it's going to be Haaland, whether it's going to be Salah. That's a decision I'm going to bring up until closer to the deadline. But for now, he doesn't get the armband, but I am expecting a good return from Haaland, as City will be looking to bounce back after their last few game weeks where they've been out of form, and especially losing that Champions League game during the week. So depending on the news we get around Cole Palmer before the deadline, whether or not he will be fit the weekend, I'll be looking to save my transfer and then have 2 free transfers after the international break. As I said, I do expect Cole Palmer to be fine, but if he's expected to be out for the weekend, I can always go from Cole Palmer to Son and then Son to Saka after the international break. If you've made it to the end of this video, please give it a like, drop a comment below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's hit the like goal of 80 likes on this video, so head on down there, drop the video a like, and if you are watching this and you're not subscribed, you know what to do. Head on down there, click subscribe. We're just under 140 subs off hitting our 7k goal before Christmas, so if you haven't done so already, head on down there, click subscribe and support the channel, and fingers crossed we can get across the line in time before Christmas. I'm flying to Manchester on Saturday for the Man United game against Leicester on Sunday, so I don't think I'll have the opportunity to do a deadline stream on Saturday, but I am hoping to do a pre-deadline stream on Friday if I get the chance to, so keep an eye out on my socials if I do announce that, and hopefully you can join me for that. Fingers crossed for a green hour now in Game Week 11. Thanks for watching, best of luck for the week. I'll see you in the next video.